For those not aware, dudes play this game where if we're walking through a public space, let's say you're going through a shopping center and I don't know, maybe you're at the DMV waiting around. We're always playing this game where it's like, who would I fuck in this room? You play out hypothetical scenarios where you're like, if the walls closed in or there was some cosmic scenario where we couldn't escape right now, in what order would I fuck the women here to kind of like reboot society? I'm Adam. These are all my Eves. In which order would I do it to kind of get this whole humanity thing kickstarted once again? So I think that's pretty common. Most guys do that. It's kind of just like a background game that's running in the recesses of our operating system. But then there's a certain type of dude, and I think this kind of like emerged out of the manosphere or pickup artistry realm. I'm not quite sure, but there's guys who are very much inclined to rank women on a scale of 1 to 10 based on their attractiveness of. And I think, yeah, if you push me, if you ask me to give a rating, to rate a woman, I could do it, but it's not something that I'm inherently just going to reach for when I praise someone. But some dudes do that, and I think what's interesting is a lot of those dudes who have very kind of like lofty guidelines in terms of, you know, really fucking beautiful women. Margot Robbie's getting an 8.5 out of 10 because her nose is a little too upturned, or, you know, pretty sticklers for giving out the high scores, the nines and the tens. Yet in their own personal life, they're married or dating a six who sucks, who's got a shitty personality to boot. And it just gets me like, it's a bizarre thing. And I kind of, to try and put my finger on why that happens, Doug Stanhope's got this great quote where he's like, sport is stupid, but it's my stupid. And I think there's a similar thing going on here with these dudes and their sixes, because it's kind of like having a Toyota Camry from 1996. It's an old beat up car by this point. Maybe it was good back in the day, but now it's beat up and old. It's been in a few fender benders and you've had to change the tires a million times and it's banged up. It's a 6 out of 10 car. It's not a Lambo or a Bugatti, but it's your Camry. You know, it's like, it's your six. There's a personalized element to it. And I think that's what's going on there with these guys, is that they're kind of, you can't really, you don't have access to the upper echelons of women. Most dudes don't. Whereas if you feel like you can really shape a six and them to shape you, it's a more human experience. So the whole kind of like ranking thing, or appraising people, it is just this fairy tale. And I also think maybe they're kind of like guys who are in these shitty relationships with sixes. They know they're never getting out of the relationship unless she leaves you. Um, so therefore they kind of like, they allow themselves of the fantasy to kind of like get deep into the whole high value men and women game and hypergamy and all these wild theories of how society should run, because they're essentially in a slum, but they're envisioning utopia. They're like, why the fuck should Mark Zuckerberg or Jeffrey Bezos be the guy who's going to define and build utopia? Why don't you ask the guy in the slum who's fucking dealing with the six and the two kids in the suburbs, who's at the end of his tether? He's the one who should be providing the world with a philosophy and a guideline for how we could become better humans. So I think that's what it comes down to with these guys. They're like, hey, if everyone would just listen to me for a second, I could tell you how things should be running. I'm not going to change a fucking thing about my situation or leave my six. But if you need me, I've got all the fucking answers. So I think that's what's going on with these dudes. I think that's why these men will call a six and still fall in love with it anyway.